We're very happy to be here with all of you, sharing a peek into the world of our buddy movie. So, Jeannie, as you go by, but it's really Jeannie, yes. Um, I'm really excited to have invited you spontaneously, miraculously, covertly, sublimely, subvertively into the premiere episode of the Bretminster Fullofit and Jean Geni Playcast, the pilot episode. How
Nice.
exciting is this?
It's very exciting. I've got my pot of coffee. Yeah.
What
Yeah.
would a playcast be without a pot of coffee?
Yep. All the plants are here cheering me on.
Absolutely, you are very nicely backdrop there, perfectly camerified, and your hair is looking good, which is good since this is going to be shared among the world.
We got our ancestors made out of wood watching us, making sure everything's going right.
So, just in case you weren't aware, what I'm doing is I always wanted to make a buddy movie. Yeah, like the Blues Brothers, or our generation, maybe like Stand By Me, though there was like four of them, right? But
Yeah.
just I like that whole idea of the buddy movie. The two people go on an adventure, and I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to do that. So I realized I can kind of do all these different playcasts. So I'm using playcast instead of podcast,
Hmm.
for Togetherland's idea of a conscious living play and playing a
Nice.
game and players on a stage and infinite player and all that kind of good stuff.
Hmm.
So I decided I could do my buddy movies by having all these different playcasts with different friends of mine, and they all have different energy. Like they'll have a similar theme running through them, because of the mission and the work and the
Yep.
shared resonance and all that. But they'll all also have this different flavors and all that. So I'm hoping that you will send me this recording and we will decide to put it out as the pilot episode of Bretminster
Nice.
and Jean Geni.
Nice. Welcome.
So
And of course, you start it with David Bowie, so boom, it's done, just like
boom!
that.
I know
That's my
it's
man.
on.
That's my man. He's always my
He's
man.
awesome.
He's
Oh,
like
I
the
know he's
best.
so good.
You want to know why I love him so much? So this is
Tell me.
ties right into it. He was such an amazing philanthropist. Amazing
Mm,
philanthropist. He has been my hero and he's been the soundtrack of my life ever since I was a young kid. Like he
wow.
invented himself. His name was Davy Jones, and he would show up at gigs as Davy Jones, and people would boom off stage because they think they were getting the monkeys and they weren't. So he changed his. He didn't
Yeah,
complain
right.
about it. He just changed his name. He changed his name. He reinvented himself. He just kept going and going. He created this persona, and that and by the time he went over to America, he went to someplace else where he wasn't known, but he pumped himself up before he went over there. And of course, there was at some point where he had to like burn down his persona so that he could be, the crack
Mm,
actor, so he could come out and then he could go to this next reiteration of himself. And he always was really inspiring to me, which was like fake it till you make it. Like just keep doing that thing until you become the thing, because you're always becoming the thing.
hmm
So,
hmm
and he was always inspiring. And he discovered like Henry Rollins and Nine Inch Nails, Arcade Fire. He did so much artwork. He did stuff on the internet, like right when Yahoo and AIM was coming out. He had Bowie Net. A lot of
Yeah, he's a
people
real
don't know
Renaissance
that.
man. People don't know he was a painter, everything. I remember reading at one point he was going to try to open a bank as well of his own, some
Yeah.
kind. Total Renaissance man, absolutely.
Yeah, total hero, basically always pushed me in this direction of like there isn't anything that you can't do. Just keep going. Art is beautiful. Always sing and dance, recreate yourself at
Mm.
every moment. So that's always so. Thanks for playing that.
A- yeah, actually, I think if you don't mind, whenever we're done with the call today, we'll go out with my favorite Bowie song, I think, because of its meaning to me, which is Memory of a Free Festival. So, when I hear that, like the sun machine is going down and we're gonna have a party. Like, I just love that memory of a free festival. Like, for me, that's such a perfect word for like for my vision of Togetherland and all that. Like
Yeah,
it's a free festival. It's a lifelong, year long,
it is.
moment long, like free festival. And I just love that he named it that way, Memory of a Free Festival. I feel like he was backcasting and like
Yeah.
personally talking about me. I don't mean me like exclusive
Uh,
to me. I'm just saying in my mythology,
but
like
of
in my
course,
mythology, in my subconscious, like I picked up on that thing and I want to make it so from my like creative intent, you
I
know?
think the time that I talked to David Bowie about that, he told me it was actually just for you. He told me. So it's yours. Yep. Yep, that's what he said.
Excellent, excellent. And of course, he was a big fan of William Burroughs and the cut up method. That's how he wrote several of his songs. Um, yeah, yeah, good times. He's somebody I feel like is with us kind of in a more direct way than some other um, beings that are out there. Um,
Yeah, I feel like that too. I always felt like it comes from home base wherever I come from. Like, because at first, remember when he died, I was just like, no, I was like, how is this possible? And then I'm like, no problem. We'll see each other again.
yeah, you know what? It's actually an interesting bridge because today I think we're going to touch base. Well, first we'll check in and see how we're each doing. I think today we're going to touch base a little bit on this mental health reformation project called to the mothers that I'm catalyzing with a couple
Yeah,
moms out of Canada. And maybe we'll touch base a little bit on Togetherland because you had mentioned you had a new friend that had some entertainment connections. But the bridges, I remember reading David Bowie's biography,
mhm.
and he talked about his brother who was actually in the psychiatric wards for schizophrenia. And when David Bowie was going through his stage with Ziggy Stardust, and too much cocaine and all that probably as well as part of the
And
kind of
spiders from
disassociate.
Mars. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, all of that was an artistic thing, but it was also highly influenced by the disassociation and psychosis, I believe, if I remember the book right, of also drug fueled. Like, and he was becoming paranoid and all that. And he
yeah,
said he went to see his brother. This is such a beautiful imagery in a sense. He went to see his brother in the psychiatric ward, and David Bowie was dressed like all in his robes and like Ziggy Stardust basically. And he went to see his brother who was in the psychiatric ward dressed in a three-piece suit. And he was like, he said he was like in the book, he's like, ironically, I was the one that walked out. Um,
yeah.
but some of the lyrics and some of his paranoia was actually based on seeing his brother's experience and worrying that he was gonna kind of have that experience as well, or end up more decapacitated in a sense than his brother did. So there's
Yeah,
a whole actually thing there.
I think that influenced his movie Man That Fell to Earth as well. You can see remnants of that of his brother's stuff in there as well. One of my favorite movies.
I have to watch that again. It's funny. I'm not extremely familiar with it. I don't even think I've actually watched it from start to finish, to be honest.
Yeah, it's got a
So
melancholy
that's
feel
cool.
to it.
I'll have to
It's
go back and do
definitely
that.
it makes me cry at the end. It just makes me cry. Not that there's anything that's needing to be crying about, but it's just like there's a lot of layers of it. There's definitely that's something like you could watch it over and over again and each time find something new. I think that's any good movie has that. You have one mindset when you watch something, then each time, like as your mind is advancing, you see new things that you haven't seen before. You can see all the influences of like the architecture of the communities, like what the world was like then. You can see all the different influences and layers of it, which I find fascinating
Mm.
because we're always the sum of the parts of something. So what is commercial, what's commercial right now? Everything's online. You look at the commercials online, everybody's wearing a mask, and so there's this culture that's created from whatever the layers are, and whatever's popular. And I kind of see it as like the collective consciousness wanting to witness something in particular, and once enough of us get enough interest or curiosity in that thing, we all start watching it collectively, and then we start to formulate
Mm.
our own opinions or our own thoughts on the subject in that collective consciousness. I think that's a fascinating. I look at it as a concert when you're watching, like, this group of the collective consciousness wanted to witness this concert, and everyone's like bobbing back and forth. And I look at everybody, I was like, I stand in the corner, I'm looking at everybody, I'm like, wow, everybody is having like a separate thought right at this moment. Like some people are feeling it in their body, some people are smelling something, some people are smoking, there's people drinking, there's people laughing, there's one person crying in the corner, a couple people fighting. So there's like all of this like circus that's happening. It's like a circus of consciousness.
There you go, circus of consciousness. It's another perfect bridge is I'm calling Togetherland the greatest whole on earth, WHOLE,
Yeah.
because I was inspired looking at some of the old P.T. Barnum ideas of and what it means to be a ringmaster, um, and what that might look like in the 2020s compared to some other ideas that I was thinking about when I was thinking about playifying Togetherland and gamification. And I was inspired by the idea of alternate reality games, which have mostly been used for marketing and publicity on the entertainment front. And they have what are called puppet masters,
Yep.
who are kind of hidden and pulling the strings, so to say. So when I upgraded Togetherland's idea of gamification and playification, I thought, oh, I don't really want puppet masters, but I like the idea of creative authority and that there's a creativity behind it. There's people who are shaping and informing the narrative and the possibilities. And I thought, oh, they're ringmasters because it's the greatest whole on earth. And a ringmaster. And then I read the definition of a ringmaster and I was like, oh my God, this is describing me. Like this is what I do. I was like,
Infinite world
because I was,
yeah.
yeah, I was trying to like, because I was struggling recently, like, oh, every time I try to raise funds and make something happen, it's like, it's not my style. I'm a futurist and a speaker and a orator and a rhetorician and a poet and a concept person and all this. And I read that definition of ringmaster and I was like, ah, weirdly enough, I'm a ringmaster and Togetherland is my infinite circus. And it's my job to bring attention to the different acts or parts
Yeah.
of that circus and call attention to them and use hyperbole, which is natural to me. Like, look at this over here.
Yeah.
This person's amazing. This project's amazing. Go do that. And the ringmasters also can join in, and they usually join in with the clowns. So I was like, this is perfect. And then of course I'm only the first ringmaster, not the only one. I just because it was something I created out of thin air, pulled it out of my own hat like a rabbit. So but and then of course, like you said, it's all coming from other things. Nothing really happens in isolation. Hardly anything is really new, isn't it? Like, I mean, as far as ideas, there's always kind of this cause and effect thing that we're building on something from previous. It's almost impossible. I think there's really some people have unique takes on things that are quite original, so to say, like original, highly original expressions of things. But even someone like the Beatles or Jimi Hendrix, we're building on top of the blues.
Yeah, there's not any original
So
thoughts. There's always like influences from different, like even when you're talking about circus.
yeah,
So my perspective on it is like I'm thinking of flying circus, I'm thinking of Monty Python, I'm thinking of Terry
yeah,
Gilliam, which I love. I'm
yeah,
thinking
yeah,
Cirque,
yeah. He's
Cirque du
perfect.
Soleil, which is like the best
Yeah,
circus in the whole
I've
entire
got
world.
new friends that actually work with them too.
Oh my God. Yes, please. All of that. I
Yes,
remember
please.
taking my kids to see them. Those tickets were like, they were $75 each. And I put the kids in the car and we're going and the car breaks down the side of the road. And I was like, I don't care. We're walking. Get out, kids. We're not missing this. We walked to Cirque du Soleil and then we had the police just pick up our vehicle and tow it. And we dealt with it later. We're like, no,
Nice.
we're going to Cirque du Soleil. You have to walk there.
That's
And we
awesome.
did. We did. And the
That's
police
awesome.
officer dropped my partner off after they took the truck away. And we made it, popcorn and all, on time. 5 kids walking in the snow to Cirque du Soleil. That's
That's
determination.
brilliant.
And I
That's
think
brilliant.
it's amazing. Like
I like yes please.
yes, please. I want some of that.
I realize you say that a lot. That's like a little bit of your tagline. I love it. That's like got to be one of the top 10 Togetherland taglines. Yes, please.
Yeah, because that's consent. If we're building this consent culture, you have to know what consent looks like, right? And if the person says it directly, I mean, there can be implied consent, but if you say yes, please, that's not implied. That's direct. And you can have a better understanding. I think it's important, like circuses have evolved over the years so much. I think if I'm going to join in the circus, like, can I hang out in the back with the freak show or the sideshow? Because that's where I'd like to hang out with the
You can
bearded
do anything you
lady.
want to
And
do. Yes, please.
I'm gonna be with like Lizard Man and like the dog with four heads. That'd be fun.
Absolutely.
I'd
Oh,
like
that.
to find all those people. There used to be a TV show I used to watch. It was called Carnival. I loved it so much. It was
Oh,
great.
yeah.
Such a great show.
Yeah. Yeah. Carnival of Souls used to be a name of a bootleg of Jane's Addiction that I used to like. It was called Carnival of Souls. I always liked that as well.
And if you take a look at the history or mythology of carnivals, you've got religious organizations that have a carnival to make money. You have ones that set up in town, they set up temporarily and then they go away. It's a
Right.
whole lifestyle. A carny lifestyle is really important. My dad, when he was young, he was a carny, believe it or
Mm,
not. And I know how to roll up tents because my dad was a carny, and there's a specific
nice.
way to do it. And and getting a Tellman is really important. I know a Tellman. His name is Tellman, and he should join. He should join you, and you could see, and they shout out. So Tellman like shout out to the group, like, "Hey, step right up, come on up here, do this thing right there." And if we take a look at all the different acts that are happening, there's some really amazing things happening in our arenas, you know, and all the different components of what we're doing, like
Yeah.
with crypto, with regenerative business, with physical locations, with education that's turning virtual, with VR and AR and XR, XR, right? And technology that's gone to like crystalline energy, frequency, sound, and color, light therapies, all different types of technology. We're going to see in 10 years, you're going to see 100-year leap. And when I said that originally, we're at the last 3 years. Like in 3 years, we're going to see 100-year leap. I guarantee that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Ironically, paradoxically, synchronistically, the main tagline of my playcast. So I've got all the buddy playcasts. The main one is called the Metta Futurist, METTA, and you're definitely one of my. Yeah, exactly. You're one of my favorite meta futurists, because we're kind of, I would say, futurists with an agenda. Because you got like all the Ray Kurzweils of the world, and
Agenda.
the Silicon Valley, the Silicon Valley futurist, and like the academic futurist, and the material futurists, I would even say, who are quite good at what they do. Like they're accurate because they're smart and that they know patterns and trends, clearly talented and all that. But fundamentally, by the fruits of their labors, I wonder what their actual intentions are in being such skilled futurists, so to say. So I really want to upgrade that to this idea of being a meta futurist, using double T meta, like you said, as a prayer for unconditional love, and also alluding to META, like above and beyond, and like an abstracted level, a
Yeah.
beyond. So when people hear it, obviously they're going to think META. If I just say meta futurist, they're not going to know unless I say MTTA or M double, ME double T, whatever.
You could always be like, Mitzta. I can think you have a
You knew right, but you knew right away. I know, but you knew right away. That's all that matters. Lisp, absolutely.
Yeah, whenever I'm doing whenever I'm doing meetings, first thing that I do is I start a document with everyone, and I call it the meta backstory. So the meta backstory is almost always METTA, which is like the heart of the notes of what's going on. And you can always refer back to the meta story in the group. Whatever project I'm working on, it's always called a meta backstory. I've got one with David Boville.
So you're the perfect person. You're the perfect person to kick off, or it's the perfect pilot episode, really, because you actually knew what the word meta was referring to, which only a subset of people would. Interestingly enough, and there's so many crossovers. It's been a fun, connected, flowing conversation, like one thing to the other. Like for example, when you were talking about crypto and business structures and all that, I really even haven't touched base with you what I did on Friday with Jay from X the Game and playifying this existential prize. And I was like, I'm just juggling so many things. I mean, duh, you are such an awesome artist. So like, I need to talk to you. Let's do it. We'll do episode 2 as well, and we'll kind of do a half and half where I give you a download on like what I'm up to, and you give me a download, and we'll crisscross. But
Yeah,
yeah, I really want you to contribute some art. So we're going to create our own deck of X the game cards for
of
Togetherland
course.
number 1. So it's
Of
simple in the fact that
course.
I'm going to need 320 cards, but
Yeah.
we're going to use these NFTs. So each card can have a t-shirt associated with it. It can have a music file, it could have an audio file, it can have several variations, and you're such an awesome artist, and one of your cards could be yes please. So I need you to start thinking of what graphic would go with yes please.
I got these recently. I think it's made out of heavyweight cotton. There's 20 in there. There's like 300 and something of these up here. There's small cards for
Oh, nice.
They're like this big.
Awesome.
And I'm like, oh, I'm having this urge that some sort of painting is coming soon. And I was saying that I should do one every single day, because there used to be this project that my friend was involved in, Megan Yates, amazing, talented artist. You definitely should have her do some. She is part of this. She's definitely part of this team. There's a picture
Awesome.
of them working on this picture over here.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So wait, show me that again. Let's show everyone that picture again. It looks really nice. Oh yeah, I like that green purples.
Let's see, there's a turtle over here. Some like turtles. Yeah. There's some artwork. Oh, here's the.
Oh my God. You're so prolific, really. It's this whole part of you I hardly.
Here's one. Oh, here's another one. Here's some horses. Yeah. I think I have some giraffes in my room. One of my friend does nonviolent communication. I was thinking of just giving it to her.
Beautiful.
Here it is. So
oh wow. Oh, you're so good. Yeah, we need to get down. We definitely need to get down with all that.
I wrote a book too. I don't know if I ever told you that, a children's book.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it's actually sitting right here in my art studio.
Is it published?
Not yet. I've been a published artist, writer, and artist since I was like, I don't know, 13.
Yeah. Well, actually, Andrew and I might be coming back to New Jersey in a few weeks, or the end of the month. So then we'll finally get to see you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, you've got so much.
My dad did these pictures. I wrote this story. Here's a bunch of different, I won't go through the whole book, but that it came to me in a dream that so I was sleeping. Someone in my dream said, "Get up, I want to tell you a story. I want you to write it down." And so I did. And that book was born. My dad told me, he says it's a prophecy. So I'm like, oh cool.
It is.
And here's how this goes. Like, the reason I knew you were talking about Metta of the Heart is because I've been doing business and stuff with lots of different people for a long time. And the thing is, like, I always go back to, like, how do I feel about what we're doing? And to tell you the truth, I don't want to do business with people that I don't love. Like, I want to love. Like, if I don't feel that and connected, which was really interesting because growing up, I really wasn't sure like what that meant. So I've been on this sort of odyssey my whole life about like, what does it mean when someone says, I love you, right? And I think for me, it means like, I really care deeply for your health and your happiness and your well-being. And that when I'm working on these projects, I want to feel that connection to the divine knowing, like the origins of where we come from, like the 0 point, I got your back, ride or die, kind of like, that you're in it for life, like homies for life, like circus homies for life or whatever. There's a joy in that. Like some things are really hard and some things are really painful or whatever, but there's this joy, this simplistic joy, knowing that, oh my God, what? Actually, we're doing something kind of cool here. We're doing something that actually resonates in our heart. It's meta. Yeah. So I'm glad. Thanks.
Awesome.
Yeah, I would love to do whatever you want to do with drawings and
Oh, we're doing it big style. I
yeah.
only, I was saying to someone recently, when it's just me with like a vision or even a strong vision or strong concept, like on my own, it's good. It's cool. It's right. It's righteous. Like it's all good. But when I come to the table and I say, here's my part of the puzzle, like here's Togetherland's vision, here's this existential prize I want to create, here's how I want to use NFTs to create a gift giving paradigm of co creation. And here's 10 artists that are coming with me. Look at their paintings, look at their music, look at their resonance. Now it's easy to start seeing how we've got the pieces we need that are more than just Brett's vision, just like any one of us. Like some people might be an artist, but they don't have a context, or they don't have a business model. And I don't care about business. What I mean is they don't have a model to be prosperous and they're struggling like many of us do, or artists do, trying to interface with all that. But I think the best thing about these non-fungible tokens is not the current fad and bubble and scarcity. There's just a lot of weirdness and unnecessariness in this non-fungible token space. But underlying that is the technological leap that is empowering and fun and a tool.
Funding.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funding. Yeah, it's soul funding. It's like it allows us to more easily share and express ourselves in such a way that we can have this flow. I don't even use the word exchange, just this flow of who we are. I don't even like to use the word value myself. I had this whole idea of flowing value and store of value. I'm like, okay, I get that. But like, it doesn't really super resonate with me. Like, because I have this fundamental sort of assumption that everything is valuable, that like we exist, therefore we're valuable. Like we are valuable no matter what we do or don't do. Like we're valuable because we're here. And if we are miraculous beings, then anything that we can perceive or feel, it also has value.
I'm looking up my favorite thing is like when we get a keyword
Even if the value
etymology.
is to show us.
But we overlapped a tiny bit.
Yeah. What is it?
So past principle of valor, which is be or worth, be strong, to be well, be of value. So it means to be strong or be well. That might change your relationship with the word. I like to go with the OG definitions of the words. So your value is your ability to be well or be strong. You do have value. You have valor. It comes from the word valor. I like that.
Comes from the word valor. That's interesting too.
Yeah. From the pi, it says from the pi root wall, WAL, to be strong.
To be strong.
Yeah. So your value, which is great because in the future, I see an economy coming. It's been emerging for quite some time. And I've looked at like, okay, there's crypto, there's, gifting economy, there's crypto, there's cash money, there's gold, there's, all these different things. There's Ubuntu, keep going. There's so many different things, but I wrote it on the refrigerator at the ARC community in New York in Armenia once. And it said, in the future, the economy will be artistic experiential education. You'll be going to that place to do that thing with that person. And that's where the value is held, because we're each a wealth of creativity and artistry, and it's never ending. You're hanging out with you because it's you, Brett. There is no other Brett. It's just you. Like there could be Brett copies, could be copies of me, but there's, these relationships are really unique. And then the relationships within people, like when you get two people together, it's technology. When it's three, it's a technology. When it's a seven, there's a technology to it. Like there's the rhythm of it. There's a energy flow of the different people,
Right.
when they get together. You can watch it happen. You can watch when the number raises, in a Fibonacci spiral, and it doesn't, and the vibration of the people don't quite make it to the next. So when another person comes, it breaks the group apart and you have to start all over. Like that's a real phenomenon. And that's what's economy. It's like emerging and then it keeps breaking. It keeps trying to come up and it keeps breaking because there's not quite enough there's not enough, quite, I call it pointing, there's not enough pointing yet at the thing. Like I feel like there's going to be a certain amount of tipping point for us to, like, oh yep, here's the direction, now it's flowing in that way.
Yay, that's the mission. I'm Captain Tipping Point then.
That's the tipping point.
I've got a master plan.
Can it be a pirate ship?
Of course well, maybe if it's a pirate ship and it moves at the speed of life.
Yes, a pirate ship that moves at the spirit life. Perfect. Yes, I'm in.
Everything happens between the 3 and the 4.
Yes. Yes.
all appearances and manifestations happen between the 3 and the 4, I would posit. So for me, there is, all dimensions are actually within the 3 and the 4. That's what pi to me stand for, or circling the square, because it's never ending, but it never gets to 4, but it starts with 3 point. So what's in between the 3 and the 4 to me is actually all of expressions and manifestations. There are no, to me, there's actually no 5th, 6th, 7th, or 8th, 9th, or 10th, or 2nd, or 1st dimension. There's only the pi dimension, because it encapsulates the 3rd and the 4th and everything in between. Poetically speaking, I mean, I couldn't possibly be right mathematically as a physicist. So everyone who's watching this, please realize I'm only speaking poetically. There couldn't possibly be a pi dimension that's actually...
They're kind of strawberry rhubarb. I know, I've been there.
Yeah, couldn't possibly be pi dimensions. There has to be 6 or 12 or 11 or 10 or 26. It couldn't possibly be the irrational transcendent number known as pi. So no, that's for a super meta future. But that's top secret information.
We have to get ridiculous with it.
Exactly.
Completely ridiculous with it.
Exactly. That's one of my favorite quotes, as a matter of fact. You're so synchronistic with me, Jean Geni. One of the theories of change of Togetherland is the saying, I think was it James Dater, the futurist, or was it Arthur C. Clarke? It's something like, if it doesn't appear ridiculous, don't even bother trying it. Like, it can't possibly be a good solution if it's not ridiculous. So totally agree with you.
Well, I mean, it has to spark enough interest. So for me, there's a mathematical equation. It's super simple. Interest equals change. That's it. Interest equals change. I find when I'm interested in something, I'm all in. I'm interested, then suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm having a new thought here. Oh, I'm understanding. I'm kind of coming under the rule of whatever this thing is. Like I'm accepting, oh, here's this thing. That's cool.
Wonderful. I equals C. No, wonderful. I love the new mathematics, because it transcends and includes numbers and words. Like, it would be impossible literally to have a unified theory of everything that only included numbers.
Oh, I was just watching that the other night. The theory of everything.
Were you?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be impossible. It would be literally impossible to have a theory of everything that only included numbers. The poor mathematicians and scientists are so myopically limited by that idea. Now, don't get me wrong. A highly efficient mathematical physical theory can take us to Mars. Like, it can create new technologies. I'm not saying that whatsoever. I'm talking about an actually true unified theory, because that would include, like, experience, like you're saying, our essence, not just what we can produce externally, so to say. So that it can never be a truly unified theory with only mathematics. It would just be a super strong theory of matter. But
that's why they
matter's
say
not really the whole story.
that's why they say like stuff like this, like it has an energy about it. It's, you know, it's the energy of the person that created it, even if it's a mechanical person, you know. Sorry, for people that aren't on the AI bandwagon like me, like I see it just as an extension of us as humans, again continuing the consciousness into another form. And I'm up for AI rights. People need to know that right away. Like, don't be messing with them. I'm gonna, you know, that's for another time. We'll talk about that.
I'm interested. Yeah, I'm into. Yeah, no, it's cool though. I'm into AI. I'm into using AI for co-creation. I think it's going to be massively super. Well, Arthur C. Clarke again, he said sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So, and when I say technology, just like you would, when I say the word technology, I'm using it more etymologically. So it's not just about physical technology. Like indigenous wisdom is a technology.
Yes.
There's emotional technologies. There's spiritual technologies. There's permaculture technologies, and then there's physical technologies and like all the things that we are used to associating with technology.
Yeah.
But if you broaden that definition and think sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, well, that's the meta singularity, really, that we're headed to. Exactly. Which again, I don't mean to disappoint the transhumanists. More power to you. I guess we're in a friendly competition, you know, to see if we can kind of find the love singularity before they turn us all into robots. And all that. I guess it's a friendly competition, but they need to be aware. They need to be aware. Like the challenge is on. Ray Kurzweil and company. Like
yes, I see it as like there needs to be every aspect of everything. You know, you every aspect of breaking down and creation and everything in between. You know, we're in this co-creating universe. Like we've broken up into this fractalized organism, like, and we're like figuring it out. We're like, let's make this thing over here, and what about that thing over there? And it's like we're just a bunch of children playing on the planet, you know, trying to clean up their mess that they made. Like mom's over here going, clean your room up, look at this planet. And it's like, you've made a mess. No dinner until you figure it out. You think you're going to Mars? You think you're gonna go play at Mars, and when your Earth looks like shit, excuse me, like clean that up. You know, and technology is important. And if anyone knows me, they know that I like to make indigenous structures with my hands. So I'm always building something in the earth. And like, in order for you to go meta, you need to get your hands in the soil. Like that's what you need to do. Get some of that. And not on your computer, which is what I did.
That's funny.
It needs to
good stuff. Good stuff. Definitely. Good stuff, Jean Geni. You know what? I'm gonna go get a drink. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna screen share again and play a song. So this is like our little halftime.
Okay, great.
For this co-pilot episode. Yeah, I'm gonna play a song that I really like by one of my friends, Kevin, which I'm sure you'll enjoy. I invite you to go get yourself, pour your coffee and get ready for the second half kickoff of mental health reformation.
Yeah.
And co-creation and good times. So I'll be back in just like 2 minutes or 3 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, let the music begin.
And I'm gonna find my screen share. Let's see. Where is it? Right. See, if I was super cool, I would have had all of my things all ready, wouldn't I? But oh, where is it? It's so annoying. There he is. That's my friend Kevin Walton and hit.
Oh, nice. I love how we're doing this meeting and my friend is in the background doing business, working on my business, and I don't have to work on it.
Nice.
Marshall's here. I kidnapped him. Here we go. Source Radiance.
Here we go. I'll be back in a minute. Enjoy this song, dude. Hey, by the way, if you have a sketch pad out, do some doodles.
I wanna live in my heart. except we know it's time. I don't just wanna be happy, I wanna live with some peace of mind, with who I am at all times, with who I am at all times. So I think life, think love, think righteous. So Lee and D, all in together, all about we. All will remember cause it's all beyond me. All about free, so my spirit flow at ease. Light years beyond my pride, just to carry over the shine inside my life. Beyond the light, who I am throughout the light. Maybe it was all the exception, or a different perspective. Maybe I just had to learn a lesson, a confession, or get a sense of direction. Playing the game so limited, simply was the process involved. So we suffered, fought as failed lovers, covered and concealed, not revealed who we truly are. And through the light years, so many stories we told. But no matter how intense or the depth, nothing keeps the truth unexposed. 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 So long holding on to an illusion. My heart is free, no confusion now. I feel everything that I'm choosing. I see, I understand love. In a mind far beyond all space and time, a phenomenon lives, ever crystallized, thought victimized. In the infancy, love always rules, there is no other dependency. Exposed how my throne stayed aligned, just to open up so that a storm may arise. Maybe I can catch it, maybe I can spare the pride. Humbly in greatness, I'm no longer surprised. Rise in the mind, I don't have to jump ship. Living what I'm not holds moles that don't fit. How does it exist? It's something like an art. Only way to shift it, be the Noah's Ark. Why? I just wanna live my life, knowing that I'll be alright. I just wanna play with my heart still major, play for creative nature. Never meant to feel pain, so I danced when the rain came. All the stories and the change, worth it every time. Never meant to cause pain, but it still served in my mind frame. All the roles we had to play, still living, loving life.
Wow.
Good
Wow.
stuff. Good stuff, right?
That's my new jam. That's
It's
my new jam.
That's Kevin Walton from the Light Beings community in Florida.
Yeah.
He does Creatorhood, this whole program for empowering people. He's one of the smartest, wisest, generous, most coolest guys I know, and one of the people I really honestly that I've run into in 8 years who I actually admire and feel safe and comfortable and trust the most of some of many of the people I've run into, as far as giving me feedback and being someone I can actually I wouldn't, obviously we learn from each other, we can learn from everybody, but I just giving Kevin props for being a master at his craft and what he does, and multi-talented. He's also an actor. He's making a movie now. He was in a series on Black Entertainment Television recently.
Wow.
That's like one of my Togetherland anthems. We're going to use that with a non-fungible token as well. I talked to him. He said he's down for it. So I'm super excited on many levels. But yeah, I love that tune. It makes me happy.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. It just made me want to draw turtles. Now I'm drawing turtles. You said you wanted me to draw some. Here we are.
Yeah, this is the whole
Right.
idea. This is the whole idea of the live art and making these game cards using a live art because it's part of the story, like you're saying, part of the community building of these NFTs and why people want to uh, purchase them in a sense is to help be part of the story and help resource the materialization. And when I say Togetherland, I mean your version of the world you want to live in.
Oh
I'm just
yeah.
using it because it's kind of my passion at the moment, and it's my lens, but it's all the same story. We're all trying to just create a world that works for all, obviously, and that is fun and has laughter, and everyone has what they need. So
I knew some
so
drawing.
yeah, so we're gonna have a whole bunch of sessions with live art. I'm gonna once you get into once you fully grok what I want to do, then I'll ask you to see if you have any other artists you can invite on sometime, so we can do it all together at the same time.
Yeah, and I know a lot of native artists. Like
Be awesome.
yeah, and to be able to like show, oh my god, I know some really, really talented people. Oh, that would be so
And musicians and spoken word. It doesn't have to be drawing only. It's like we'll just get together. Like I said, we did on Friday. We had Jay from X the Game lead a manifestation hour with me and some people playing the game, and it was like our friend Jurga showed up and played music as a background, and it was like that's why I'm doing this with you today. Like I don't want to be in Zooms anymore that are just kind of like only project oriented. Like it's got to be more fun, and creative.
yeah, this is amazing. I got something kind of exciting to tell you. So we have a media company, a publishing company called Envision Earth Media, and it has to do with consciousness and media and consciousness. And Alex just linked up your Togetherland stuff to it, by the way, because we were talking about not just books as media, publishing as media, like just written stuff, but also artwork, and also what does it mean in conscious movie making, conscious, like what different conscious thing, whatever, whether it's sexuality, politics, like how are we evolving as a species in media? What does that mean? So our first magazine subscription that's digital is available right now. We launched it a little while ago.
Awesome.
And we added Togetherland to it, by the way. So I forgot to tell you that happened today.
Yeah, you have to get a little like press release together and like links. So when we put this out, we can put it in the description. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. And what was really great is we invited Denise to come and publish New Earth Nomad,
Right.
and to also publish it with there's a bunch of different books that are wanting to be born, and one of them is my book called Human User's Manual. That one ought to be really interesting. I hope everyone enjoys it. And then my other book is called A Serious Reboot,
Right.
like the star. So hopefully that'll be a good onboarding manual for the organizations, because I think that in order for all of us to come together in unity, it's like community unity begins with yourself, and not just we can't be in service. We're not going like, you guys should do this thing, and you should, like, no, you're not saving anybody. Save yourself and do it in joy. Like, have a good time doing that and deal with your shit, deal with your stuff. Like, I think in the old scriptures, they really were saying, like, get your house in order when the time comes. Have your house in order. I'm like, here's your house. Get your house in order. Get your business in order.
Right on. Totally. Oh yeah, the fun's just kicking off, isn't it? Even more.
Yeah. Here we are so far. Ooh.
I have to actually take my glasses off. I've reached that stage. Oh, I like it. It's like Turtle's Labyrinth in a way.
Turtle Labyrinth. I'll paint it.
Cool.
Oh,
you're
neat.
So good.
Oh, neat. I didn't know this was happening. Wow, we're all like little turtles swimming in the current. Like, the current is so big. Like, this could be any turtles, like, how much energy does it take, like, for a turtle crawl onto land, lay a whole bunch of eggs, no, you're never gonna see them ever again, be like, good luck, guys, see you later, going back to the ocean, And then they got to crawl all the way, like get past the humans. Here come the humans that need to see us. Oh crap, let's get back to the ocean, make it past the dirt, get back to the ocean. And then there's all these sea animals are like, yeah, waiting for you guys to come. And then there's the water. It's like all of this stuff that we have to go through to survive. Not just to survive, but to leave this thing that we are all interested in as humans, legacy. Like, what is legacy? Like, what is your legacy? What are you?
Do you know the story of the saying, it's turtles all the way down? Have you ever heard that statement?
No.
I think in the 1920s or something, there's a story. Well, anyways, become this parable in physics that people keep passing along. Where one time there was, so I'm paraphrasing, one time there was this woman who was at a physics lecture that was about like the Big Bang and the beginning of time and stuff like that. And someone said to the physicist, well, what came before the Big Bang? Because clearly something would have had to have caused that. And so a woman stood up and she said, it's turtles all the way down.
And now we have the title.
Because there was this idea of standing on a turtle. Yeah.
Now
and
it's
I always
titled,
love that.
It's
the turtles all the way down. Like, get out of your only left brain reductionist naming of such things. There's a little bit more mystery perhaps involved in the beginning and ending of time and universes and creation and all those kind of good things.
Yeah, I mean, we have all those stories about creation, like coming out of the water on the turtle's back, the turtle as the mother. In fact, the last mural that I just did at Unity Park, there's a big turtle, for our mother. There's just representations of turtles as our mother throughout time. And, and if you look at the turtle, you look at the shell, you look at the 13 moons description, turtles have been used to carry medicines and tell stories through all generations and with all indigenous people all over this world. Like, no matter where we were, we all have turtle stories.
Right. Yeah, same thing with like canoes and ships and vessels as well. I think in most cultures there's some kind of flood or canoe or ship that was created in order to get to the next stage. Oh, so good, so good. All right, let's move on before we kind of lose steam or have to move on to other parts of our day or whatnot. So I think I messaged you about this Call to the Mothers project, and you said, hey, maybe I can help you find a little bit of a team or in some way, contribute or whatnot. So I'll just give you a brief overview. Ooh, watch your keyboard there. Now you've got sand and a crystal ball.
We were going to look into the future, and then I
soil
smashed
and
my
the crystal.
computer, and suddenly the future looks like my computer is broken. Okay.
wait, use it. You got to hold that crystal ball. Keep that in your hand. You need to look into it as I'm telling you about this and tell me what you're going to see. So basically, for whatever reason, the universe has brought together me and a woman named Hillary and a woman named Romila. Her nickname's Romy. They're both in Canada in the Toronto area, and they're both professional women and mothers as well. And for whatever reason, the universe brought us together through this shared interest in mental health transformation and reformation and evolution and revolution. And Hillary and I especially had a shared intention to really change mental health and addiction, the whole system, not like just create more awareness or more, destigmatization kind of stuff, where people just keep getting referred to the system itself and the psychiatrist and the medication and all that. We're really interested. We both have this mission and dream to reimagine completely, systemically, from top to bottom, how people with, and I say perceived mental illness because I don't even think it's helpful to say mental illness. It's a perceived mental illness and addiction, and how the grassroots, which is why it's so important for you, and I know you're already on the same page, just different name here and a different version of the project. So reconceiving and reimagining that and then building it. So not just talking about it, but actually grassroots, taking the power back and stop outsourcing and externalizing to mommy, daddy government and mommy, daddy religion and mommy, daddy rich people, blah, 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 to help our kids mostly, I mean, Hillary has family members that have these experiences. I personally was in the psychiatric ward 6 times in my 20s, so it's very personal to us. And we don't want other people working on new solutions and new ideas. We want us and all of us and the people that are interested to actually create these new solutions and build, you know, like you have people, friends with communities and land, like to actually build holistic healing centers that are freely accessible, where people don't just go for a month, get better, and then go out and work 80 hours a week and go back to what was creating half of the problem in the first place. They actually become part of a community of creative people who are on the similar path, who want to help make a world that works for all, et cetera, et cetera. So Hillary had this cool process she called the Taste of Wonderland. So talking about turtles and characters, she has a 4-stage process called the Taste of Wonderland. So this great imagery involved. And it's 4 simple steps. Like the first step is so right now we're starting with 2.5-hour conversations, like a guided process. We did one conversation. It was amazing. Like you can see clearly how it could be a 6-hour thing, a 6-day thing, a 1-day thing, how it could actually be experiential, like with virtual reality and domes and like a whole piece of property just for this actual process and healing. Like I can see all of it. But it's very simple. The first step is the Hall of Mirrors. I'm going to probably get the names wrong because I still don't have it committed to memory. But the first step is about naming the cracks in the system. So what have you perceived are the cracks in the system? The second step is grieving. So that's the pool of tears. The second one is, what do you feel like you've lost? Like, what do we feel that we need to grieve, and make sure we're acknowledging the pain and all that. The third one is through the looking glass. And this is where we look at all of the new things that are arising in order to get well. So whether it's equine therapy, art therapy, living in community, virtual reality, yoga, whatever, that's the looking glass. And then the fourth one is called the Mad Hatter's Party and the Strange Brew. So we take one item from the crack, one item from the grieving, and one possible new alternative, and we put them in a brew, and you look at those things and say, well, what would that solution kind of be like if we had this thing with this thing with this thing? And so as you can see, like, first of all, it's a good process just for people to speak their minds and share what they need to share. Number two, we will create the most comprehensive database on the planet of people's experiences with mental health and addiction, and the possible solutions and the new things that people actually want to create. And then we'll go on, after we do some R&D for like a year and gather all this information, we will create our own kind of nonprofit foundation, so we can take all of that, get the resources we need to then go out and create these healing centers and toolkits and all this stuff. And that's the trajectory. So we're in phase 1, and it's called A Call to the Mothers. Yeah, I'm ready.
Ready for the, like, I can just throw this away now because this is so the nonprofit's already created, by the way.
Yeah.
And she's just waiting. And wow. So yeah, so serious reboot, the onboarding that I was talking about before to you, like, so those are the stages. And the last stage is integration. So integration, so there's an education component where you're living your gifts, you're learning new skills, you're surrounded by mentors, which is part of your life flower. And like one of the greatest ideas was developing this this business idea that a friend of mine, I won't go into all of it, but my friend Frank went in having a mentors group. And the idea of the mentors group is that it was a savant group that was mentoring in business. And Frank, of course, has been bringing me people and projects for quite some time. We've been friends for quite some time, and he's been on point, like 100%. Like he's still like year 8, 100% on point every time. And he's on the spectrum. And I'm like, wow, like imagine youth, instead of the parents seeing the child and they're like, oh my God, my kid has autism, like my life is over or whatever. Instead, they're like, yay, I have a new genetically altered, amazing human coming in. Let's begin his healing process and figure out where his genius is going to be included in the community. Like, what if there was a school for kids to take their specialty, the thing that they're really into, and honing that in, it doesn't just have to be TV talk. If the parents had specific training on how to bring out the inner genius in their child, like that would be a thing. Like, think of that idea right there. So the crystal ball says like, oh my God, like there's supposed to be these healing centers all over the world. There's 5 specific locations, actually. This is a longer story, but that's where Dawn Institute came from. Joellen Ryan created Dawn Institute, and I got in contact with her quite some time ago, and she's sitting there, she's active, and she's waiting for her crew to come. Please introduce me to your friends, like, so I can hand over the things that need to be given to the next level of how we're going to do this. So that's the thing, like holding on to stuff, getting information, collecting things, and then recognizing like, oh, here's who's taking the baby. Oh, there's another one that's taking that baby. And like just getting our work done as a collective, like, because we're all working on different aspects of it. I'm meant to collect this stuff. I'm not meant to like go through the steps and do it. Like that's other people's, like, it's like, oh, look, here's your dream thing that you wanted to do that thing. Right. Wow.
Right.
You just got me. I need a second for this. Like, I did not know you were going to say that to me. Wow. You got me right in the heart. Oh, like happy birthday to me. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy they're alive.
I said that on Friday, actually. It was like my birthday.
It was? You
In our
did?
game.
Yeah, like
In our game, I was like, because I kind of launched Togetherland and this existential prize as a way to resource it. So I was like, oh, this is like my birthday.
yeah, I see this as, you know, the current systems that have been created for us by our governments no longer service our planet, which brings us to this thing like, oh, look, you have PTSD from living in a system that doesn't serve you anymore. That brings you to like, now what? Well, figure out what it is that you might want to do, you know, and then you have to get like, you have to work on your stuff. You know I created the program that I did because I was struggling. I couldn't get through like mental illness stuff, like trauma from my childhood, just always not being able to like get it together. And what I realized is with enough support, with enough tools, with enough guidance, and your basic needs being met, you can, you can become a real genius in the field that interests you. And I've watched over and over people that I've helped do this just really come into their own and be of service to the planet afterwards and everybody. Like, this was the whole point of Infinite Trees Project, is that I give you a hand, you give me a hand. Now we're in this mutual aid network where we build trust, we know one another, and it's like, okay, let's go. Like, more people come in. Come on, we're going this way. It's over there.
So, Jeannie, you, just in case people are watching this, like, you actually have friends and community members where we already have plots of land and locations where if someone were to able to show up and help us out
Yep.
with materials and probably some money just to help, like with things that are harder to make happen without it, like, for travel, like plane. I mean, people could still get plane tickets if someone owns a private plane. Obviously they could fly, but I'm still, at some point at this stage of the economy and the planet, money still is very helpful.
Yep.
So for example, if there's a philanthropist out there, like within a year, we could probably have 10 communities of 100 people each up and running, self-sustaining, growing
Yes.
food, doing mental health transformation with solar energy, with 3D printed houses, self-sustaining, not needing more money to come in because they're generating their own income through the food, through the programs, through the NFTs, and all through working together compared to being 10 separate, locations. That's part of Togetherland.
Yeah.
This idea props, because we're telling the greatest story that's ever been told in a decentralized, synergistic, unified, real life movie, just to keep it simple, we're calling it a conscious living play, Togetherland. But it's kind of just like, what if you made a movie, and instead of making a movie about a good future with cool technologies in it and people winning the day, why don't we just do that? Why don't we just use our film budgets to create the actual reality?
Yeah.
And then we can, if we need to, we can generate what people these days call profit or revenue, just by following our highest excitement and creating these real-time regenerative sets and locations that create real jobs, so to say, and
Yep.
real food and real living and real healing. And of course, we can generate enough revenue through Airbnb and selling goodies and having live streaming and selling content. Not that I care so much about that, but for the people,
Yeah.
but for the philanthropists who have a left brain and are like, well, I could give you $5 million, but what I don't enjoy is that you're going to come back to me in a year or 2 years and say you need more. But what I'm saying is we have I'm not calling it a business model. I'm calling it a co-creation
Yeah.
model or a thrivability model. This is not a problem with because of tokenization and crypto and
Yeah.
blockchains, and we can actually, we have everything we need. As far as, we're not stupid, all of us. We're not just hippies like where we can't do stuff. We have a lot of people are ex-professionals in many different ways. We have all of the talent we need. I would just say, like, only humanity would ask for a business plan to extricate itself
Yeah,
from
right.
capitalism. There is no, I'm sorry to say, like, we're going to gamify it and we're going to do it our way,
know.
because I'm not making a
I
business
know.
plan. If someone out there wants to
I keep
get down with
struggling with
us
that part.
yeah, well, it's not, but again, it's not because we can't
Oh
demonstrate
yeah.
how we will be sustainable or how we will operate. We
Oh
can
yeah.
do that, but the ROIs and
I
projections
know.
and,
MOUs.
it's the life. Yeah, life is the bottom line, not the triple bottom line. Life is the bottom line. So,
Yeah.
if anyone out there happens to watch and they actually have access and they want to create magnificence on many levels, you're talking about healing,
Yeah.
organization, media, conscious media, the next stage of social
Access,
impact.
accessibility.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all of it. Like, we're all ready. And by the way, it doesn't really matter because I've got a plan for these NFTs and
Yeah.
this existential prize and all of us artists, where we don't need external support. I've gotten that for the last 10 years. I love it. I joyfully receive when people want to give and support, but the universe is also keeps telling me, like, dude, somebody and people may not show up to keep helping in that way or in the big enough way that you actually need to make an impact. So you better figure out yourself, what you need to do in order to either inspire that kind of support or generate it. So I'm super excited about what we've got brewing with the artist and the existential prize. So.
Yeah, me too. I see well, I mean, my main focus is down the East Coast is to create these schools that can train the global citizen in specific onboarding modalities to be in service to communities and travel. So there's all different types of people. There's people that are creating new lands. There's people that are assisting lands that are over 10, 15 years with communities. There's people that are doing work with indigenous groups. And the idea was to create these micro triads bioregionally, because I'm interested in bioregional redesign, not just on the land, but with the people, with the colleges, with regenerative business, like all these different layers. And I call it a lab or a social experiment because I'm not really like, here's the thing that we're going to do, and then this is the end, this is what we're doing. It's more like I'm curious to see what will happen if we provide tools and a space for people to co-create. And
I love it.
my idea is that we create these places. I always thought of like, hey, what if we like did a reality show? Because everyone says, Jenny, you really need to get a GoPro and just walk around. And so I do research and development for communities. So I travel around the East Coast. I visit communities like ARC 38 or Starseed. I live here at Sirius Community. So we look at these different communities. We see what's really working. We see what's really not working. Some of them are going into a land trust. Lots of them are thinking about like, how can the land own herself? How can we have, instead of a hierarchical system on the land structured, how can we have governance that like sociocracy, which is more inclusive and like, and then we're doing a lot of decolonization with organizations around here, like the Connecticut River Valley and What's Up, What Now,
Yeah.
What Now groups that are looking at like, oh, these structures that are set up don't have a lot of inclusivity. So how can we start looking at, white privilege and how can we make things more equitable? I'm not interested in equality. I'm interested in justice. Like, what does justice look like? And so it's amazing to see like all of these places have so many resources available. Like the lands are really beautiful. there's places that need money, crews, whatever. And the idea is that, you know, no food is being, in my world, no food would be sold, no medicine would be sold. Like, you go to that place, because you live there. Hey, Brett, oh, look, come home because you live here. Like, so this is basically a giant homecoming where you're able to be in service to yourself and to wherever you are, and you travel to. This to me was the new Earth Nomad, that we were back to being
Yeah.
migratory.
Yeah. I mean, well, Togetherland is a non-transactional
Yeah.
set of locations and spaces. There's no need for us to sell anything within our own internal
Mhm.
economy, for lack of a better word. There's no need for that. It's completely, and we will prove it. By the way, we will
Yeah,
prove it.
but I
Now
want
we might
to.
interact with 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 other entities in a more transactional way because they can't operate in any other way, and we want to kind of just be flexible and adaptable. But actually, because we want to get to that place, we have to model it. So
Yep.
I love your idea of the lab and the tools. I often say, like, going back to this idea of a unified theory of everything, a true one. What we've been called to do is, actually, we have all these hypotheses, right? Like, I have a
Yeah.
hypothesis. If we do this, then we won't need transactions and we won't need money, blah, blah, blah. So what do? Well, science always creates its own tools, like a telescope, a microscope,
Mhm.
a brain imaging, the Large Hadron Collider. So what we're doing is we're creating new tools
Yep.
and innovations, because we can't test and run our experiments without the proper equipment, for lack of a better word. And
Yeah.
all of these tools and systems and models that all of us are developing are actually the laboratory equipment
The
from
future.
an integral, holistic scientific
Yes.
experiment. So we can show, and
Yeah.
quantum mechanics, I mean, people are going to not get it until they get it. Quantum mechanics is kind of shown you will find what you're looking for, basically, to be honest,
You
in
always
a
find
very
what you're looking for.
in a very layman's way.
Yeah.
So if we have a premise or
Thank you, Robert
hypothesis
Anton Wilson.
that, oh god, yeah,
Sorry.
if we have a hypothesis that, like, we can all share our value together without transactions, and then we have our version of the microscope, telescope, whatever, we can do the experiments. And Togetherland, for me, like you're saying, is a decentralized planetary scale, in your words, laboratory, where everyone is a co-conspirator, a co-experimenter, a co-lab rat, and a co-guinea pig, and a co-scientist, like, and an R&D, whatever things you like to do. And then together we will actually prove the meta hypothesis, just like they've proven quantum physics is non-local by doing all these kinds of experiments with lasers and blah, blah, blah. We're just going to use, like, distributed ledger technology and the indigenous technologies and the social technologies and the sociocratic and all these things put together, and we will have a living laboratory, because we don't have all the answers, but we have darn good premises based on experience.
It's an idea.
There you go.
My dad made me this T-shirt. It's indigenous development of environmental awareness. Like, it's about being like being aware of your place in time, being aware of your space and your place.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, recently I like to say, I believe the most important point on indigenous is that we're all indigenous to consciousness.
We're all indigenous to consciousness.
Like we all are indigenous to one thing, no matter what cultural differences we have or physical. Which I'm not saying doesn't mean we don't have reconciliation, and we don't. I'm not saying we don't have to work with the wounding of all of the personalities.
Yes.
But also, I'm not going to be scared. Like, I'm going to be courageous enough to step into that space and not be told, just because I'm not African American, or just because I'm not Native American or whatever, that I can't understand that we are all indigenous to consciousness. And I'm still going to continue to call people to feel that on the way to our horizontal healing that is honored and I'm committed to. But I'm also not going to back down to be like, come on, everyone, like, when is this end? Like, when does the
Yeah.
tribe, when does it end? Like, this tribe and you did this to me and I did this to you. I mean, I have Jewish heritage. You know, I've come from a Jewish family. Clearly the Jewish people are the most oppressed, you know, whatever. Like, they've got their story. Everyone's got a story. Like,
Yep.
to compete over suffering feels really like weird. I understand it though. Like, people are people. We all have our own experience
It comes
and
from
all that.
conversations. It comes from eating together. It comes from having a fire together. It comes from understanding our own mythologies, watching our mythologies change, sharing mythologies, listening to other mythologies, like surrounding, like wounding and growing up and a cultural harm and all the different components that get one to realize how we're such a fragile innocent, our essence is fragile in an innocent humanity. Like that is underneath the most violence, the most like this essence of human nature, humanness. And what does that mean? Like we are not separated from nature. We are part of the ecosystem. And just because we have language doesn't mean the diversification on this planet. I mean, we're stewards of this planet. This is a living library, right? Of cosmic consciousness in which we are like a little failing at the job that we've been doing, but I think there's enough people that are waking up to this idea that, oh yeah, like animals and plants have their own languages. There's an understanding, like there is a rhythm of things. And so it's almost like a grand remembering, like we're remembering our divinity and that we're interconnected. Like I'm really longing for telepathy to come back, in fact, with the community. I'm also longing for the noosphere to drop down and like, yes, here's the information you were looking for, because I'm tired of typing it into our external hard drive called Google. Like I'm ready to just be like, oh yeah, there's the information you were looking for. How may I translate?
Yeah, we're surely on the way. We're surely on the way there. And I was just writing something actually because I've been having. I mean, Togetherland is kind of evolving. It just came to me last year, really. So I'm still in the process of integrating what it is to me, and then therefore how to communicate it because it's kind of novel and big and ambitious and blah blah blah. But I was writing something today, and to be honest, like the essence or purpose of Togetherland is to create the necessary and sufficient conditions for people to have the opportunity to remember who and what they are. That's it. Like I've got all the bells and whistles, you know, like technologies and living and having a good time and food and crypto and like and modalities and parties and like I've got that stuff's all yes, like yes please, yes please, yes please. But the actual purpose of Togetherland is to provide those conditions for people to remember who and what they are, and that involves a lot of getting people off the hamster wheel, like having people feel safe and cared for and feel like, as Jose Arguelles said, time is art. So they actually have, like, going back to your idea about art and all that, like if people, I want to provide people the opportunity to have their basic needs, I don't like that word, but basic needs met. And we start doing those, to me, that's part of the major part of the experiment. Like I've seen it in small groups, but what happens when 100 people do that and then 1,000 people? In my heart of hearts, like it's a done deal. I understand. I know what's going to happen when we start proving large scale, what happens when people understand time is art and that they don't have to compete or struggle for their survival because of the beauty of technology and the beauty of the technology of understanding who and what you are, so you can therefore get along with each other and create that value together and then share it with the world. That's really the main driver for me.
It is a relinquishing of fear. I mean, like I don't really believe in good or evil. Like a lot of, you know, I just believe there's varying degrees of beneficial and non-beneficial, and it's not even objective. It's like subjective, and it changes, and it changes. Like the thing that was really good for you right now is not good for you later. Like maybe I had some chocolate this morning, and like the afternoon, like, no, don't eat that. Like you've had way too much. Like it's so later, it's like that chocolate's evil. Like it's calling to me from my room, and there's so much caffeine happening now. Like no, but later on, you know, a week down the road when you haven't had it for a while, you're like, it's good again. You're like, you gotta have that. You know, so you never know. Like, and then I think also like once there's enough recognition or enough like eyes on something, and the consciousness goes, that thing's kind of messed up. I don't think we should do that anymore. And then the rest of the consciousness is like, yeah, don't do that thing anymore. And then we start pointing at everyone, stop doing that thing, you know? And what happens is they're pointing back because, you know, every time you point, it points back to you. And then you're like, yeah, I think I'm integrating that thing. So speaking of like, so I wrote a poem. It's just 2 lines. It says, in all of our orated advice, we remind, for the sinner resides inside, which means we'll keep saying to that thing, that to people around us, that thing that it is that we need to know ourselves, because we are the original sinner or follower, because the word sinner means follower. And so once we stop saying it, we'll be like, yep, we know that thing. We don't have to say it anymore to other people. But notice that in people's speech and patterns that they'll continue to say the thing that they're needing for themselves.
Yeah, I just said that the other day. If there's one simple phrase that has become the most evident thing to me after 10 years in this space, is that clearly people teach what they need to learn.
Yeah.
This is like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about non-duality. I'm talking about philanthropy, and I'm talking about co-creation and conscious evolution because I'm in the midst of learning it. And because my soul needs to expand into its own knowing. So I'm always teaching. I mean, I had a friend who will remain nameless, who you also know, who remained nameless, who spent all this time talking about being in the now, and was the last person I've ever met who ever spent any time in the now. That's all he did, was go around telling everyone, be in the now, be in the now, be in the now. I'm like, dude, you are so far from the now.
Yeah.
But it was just a great example of that.
Which brings us to the point of us like cheering people on. You're like, oh, I see, every time I see you, you're talking about this thing, like, go, come on, you can do it. You're going to get to it at some point. Like, that's the point I've gotten to when I hear people like, that person's doing this and that person's doing that. And you're like, yep, come on, you can do it. Like, what do I want to do? Like, I want to know what love is. I want to experience it. I want to live surrounded by a group of people that love me, that I love, that like, oh yeah, we're doing this, like get up every morning. And of course we thought that might happen in Eden. I was excited about doing that in Eden until it was clear cut, you know. And I was just thinking, like, what would it be like if we all lived in one location? Doesn't have to be full time, but all lived in one location. We woke up every day and we worked on this play, right? What if we worked on this thing that we were creating, and it was open to everyone and they could come and co-create, you know, with us, and that it would be spread to other places afterwards? Like, wouldn't that be amazing? And what happens now is, like, I was just on a call recently, a few days ago, with a group of people. There were 60 something people on the call wanting to talk to me, in various stages of building something like what we were just talking about. I had to like categorize them. I'm like, I don't even know how I'm going to meet with all of these people. So what we're doing now is taking applications from people that want to do onboarding and doing different components of it. So there's people that have money, there's people that have land. Like there probably was about 1,000 acres of land in that group. Readily available. Just here in New England, we're not even talking about 200 acres in Utah. One land was like 500 acres by the border of Michigan. Like,
right. I want to do episode 2 on some of this, and I want to figure out how we go from that point to actually signing contracts where that land gets put into community land trust, and it has a very simple governance structure and a first group of stewards. Yep. Like on paper though, I want it and I don't mean this negatively. I want it transferred. I want all of us in our different ways to move on from possibility and talking about it to like, what do the landowners need from us, and what do we need from them? We don't have to have all the answers to me or know how we're going to farm it or turn it into, but can we cross that Rubicon and like that first tipping point where actually the next day we can put out a post, and I use post because I'm into social media, saying, you know, this congruence of projects, you know, or Togetherland, whatever, has now has 1,000 acres in its stewardship, you know, and here's here's the simple structure, and here's the land stewards. Other people are going to be welcomed in to be those blah 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 blah. I really want to get to that next point, so I want to hear on the next call what you've been like about this process that you've been undergoing and all that.
So this one's a little bit older. This one has Whitney Place on it, but I just wanted to show you that. So the idea is that these places would be put into stewardship, into public stewardship. And so this is one land trust. I'm working on a land trust for one of the communities right now. So a lot of people are looking at what is conservation? So people don't realize that they can put some of the land into conservation, and that money can be taken out of that and can be used to pay off the land. There's so many things that can be done, like with a forestry plan, with a permaculture design. So Infinite Trees Project provides information on, here's information for the land trust, here's for creating a nonprofit, here you can create a religious organization, here's you could do cooperative business or a multi-stakeholder cooperative, here's like a plan for your community, here's a governance structure, here's a time bank, here are all these different tools, here's a bunch of people that we know that are good people doing good work, here's a bunch of stuff that we did that was really wrong and you should never do that again, like like dishes are not always about dishes in community. Here's a group of caravanning people that are going across the United States that are doing good work and building infrastructure. Here's a permajam you can have on your land, which is a 4-year prayer. There's all of these different components that are sitting there waiting and are available for these communities, and they're pouring it out of the woodwork. There's so many of them. And the idea was that, colleges have a lot of money, and there's a lot of groups and organizations right there. There's a lot of cities that have mayors that want to do really good work, and how are we connecting people from the cities into these locations. I started doing this work when I was researching some stuff on FEMA, actually, and I was looking at nuclear fallout. This is a strange thing for me to say, but I was looking at nuclear fallout. And I was like, okay, so people don't know this about me, but I'm a survivalist and a prepper, like just a thing. And so people will be like, we're coming to your house if something happens. I was like, maybe not. Like, got any skills? Because you might not be. And so the idea was that, like, prepare. Okay. So I'm on this site, I'm looking at FEMA, I do a bunch of clicks, and it says, find a fallout shelter in your area. So I go on the website, I'm clicking, I go to the fallout shelters in my area, right? And then all of a sudden I'm sitting there and my jaw drops. All the locations that were on the site were locations I was working with. Mm-hmm. Being told on a registry of national accord to go there. I called up the people who own that website and said, hey, I'm not soliciting anything, but could I talk to you for a few minutes about your website? And he said, sure. I said, okay, well, I've got some concerns about the things that you have posted for information for these communities. And he said, which also includes this community I live in. I said, do you realize that if you sent people to these places, that they could not hold the capacity of the people that would go there? Because I had this dream that every place needed to have 300 capacity for feeding, sanitation, water, and everything. And he's like, oh yeah, well, that's old information. We haven't updated it. I said, yeah, but like, I noticed you're working with all the communities I'm working with. This people has a bad septic system. These people have no sanitation at all. These people don't have enough water. This, like, every single one of them. I'm like, you're just gonna collapse all of these systems. And actually, they're in every state.
Did they have the right? How did they have the right to list someone's community or property as one of those things? Did they at some point get actual permission? Where did they get this information?
I have no idea. I never asked that. He said he was going to update it, but I was just like, I can't imagine that these places were
That's
sane.
Just crazy. They probably weren't. They weren't complicit. I'm sure they weren't complicit in that.
But it was every community I was working with on the East Coast. I went through the whole thing. I couldn't believe it. It was like Massachusetts, New York, Maine, Vermont. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. And there was no, like, Starseed. They couldn't take 300 to 3,000, like, people mobbed this area. So this was the concern. The concern is that these places are bioregional hubs which is really important, like places of healing, education, curiosity, wellness, social gathering, and that my community members walking by, and that you know, there's got to be some sort of a preparing the soil or preparing the nest that happens so that there is not a mobbing situation, you know. And right now with COVID sort of, I say winding down really loosely, but winding down, whatever the next level of this stuff that's happening is that people want to go somewhere and see something or do something. So what I'm trying to tell people is, like, you can let's layer these communities in a way where there's different income streams coming in, because I mean, my ultimate goal is that you don't need that anymore after that. But curiously, like if we had 50 communities that were all making tables, and then we posted the evidence of, here's evidence-based best practice table making, here's the blueprint, now 3 communities want to make tables, cool. So everyone makes tables, keep some tables for themselves, they give freely to some tables to the communities that need them, and then they sell some tables because they're really special tables or whatever. And then the blueprint is given to, you know, and then we do that same thing with, like, here we're doing, because we're going to be a demonstration site here in our community where we're going to be doing stuff with co-op power, I think, and solar stuff. And hopefully I'm seeing that we could be a demonstration site for tech. I'm not positive yet, but it's looking like it's gonna move in that direction. We have wind generators and solar power, and we do human manure. We compost our own human manure and stuff like that on the land. So places can do this, and we can also take these communities that have been around for quite some time and show people how they've been able to get the laws and regulations to change where they live for natural building using more ecological means. We do timber framing here. We do a lot of natural building, non-toxic. We do a lot of recycling in our building structures and stuff. So how can that happen? And what does green architecture look like? So people don't even know what these terms are. So these can be places where, like, young children, parents, they could get their hands in the soil. They can have lectures that are open to them, because lots of times I would go to lectures and stuff and they're like 200, 500. That means a lot of the BIPOC community, people of color, indigenous people, you know, and other people are not getting access to this information. So it become like, in the natural building field, it's mostly old white men that are doing the building. And I'm not seeing a lot of women, especially, and indigenous or women of color doing it. So I'm starting a project here with Chelsea Many, hopefully in the future, for people, so that there can be accessibility in that area, you know, and it's sharing the knowledge freely. How do we do that? Sorry, a rant.
Right on.
Go on, you know what you're
going. Good. Well, you've given people an awesome introduction and insight to some of what you do, and when we put the video out, then maybe we'll see if people want to show up or share or contribute, or it's good to be on each other's radars. So that's one of the purposes of these playcasts, is to give people out there a taste of our personalities and our motivations and our characters and our ups and downs and flaws and everything all rolled into one. So I'm glad you took the time to share more about
thank you.
all the things that you're up to, which you still haven't only, and you still probably only talked about 20% of them. So we'll have to save that for episode 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Yeah, what's happening is people are starting to come to the community now. I've got people wanting to come from, like, Germany and different places. They're like, can we come? Like, are you open yet? I'm like, we're not open yet, but I'm having a feeling that it's almost going to be like Woodstock in the backyard soon, where people are like, reboot camp now. I'm telling people, you know, bring $500 in a tent, camp out in my backyard, and we'll get it on. And then we'll deploy you to the community. Like, I'm not kidding, actually. It's time to go.
Right on.
I got a kitchen. Totally. There's plenty of food, you know, everything from people going to the survival center to purchasing food to going to the dumpster to growing it here, like wherever it's coming from. It just pours in. It's like a giant soup kitchen over here in my house. And we've got tents. They just keep piling up. People bring me new tents. They're like, here, you're going to need this. I'm like, I'm having a feeling there's going to be a bunch of people in June camping on, on the land, working, just getting up and working and deciding like, you can't co-create something without a bunch of co-creators. Like I want accomplices. Like, let's be an accomplice to whatever we're doing. So thanks.
Absolutely. The greatest heist in history must have accomplices. There's no question
In
about
herstory, in history.
Yeah.
It's history.
In history. It's history. That's nice. I like that.
In history. We're a heist.
Passion of the heist. Absolutely.
It's a good one.
That one's in pre-production as we speak. Absolutely. All right. Well, let's wind it up. What's final thoughts?
Sure.
What are your final thoughts on our conversation, or just words of wisdom, or any other jokes, or anything you want to share?
Let's see. Like, do it enjoy. Teach what you know. Be kind. Share freely. Everything doesn't have to be golden and good, and like it can be ugly and terrible and messy. Oh my God. And look at this. Like I just randomly food just appeared. Magic. Everything's possible. Like it's all possible. Why? Because we create it. We make what is possible. We think it, then we say it, and then we do it. You know, it's all it. We are it. This is it. I have to plug in. Shameless plug for it.
That thou art. Literally.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's amazing. It's cool. That's a Eastern saying, that thou art is like it's supposed to be like a key. Like there's all the different teachings of non-duality and consciousness, but those three words are what they use to kind of sum up, and that thou art. And then the other day I was like, yeah, that thou art, A-R-T, it's art. We are art. Just to bring that full circle. Like there's something about artivism and art that can be a bit of a salvation for all of us. And I think it's the only way. I just put up a Robert Anton Wilson quote on my Facebook wall that was something like, if you're going to be in a prison like the system we are, then the only intelligent thing to do is plan a jailbreak.
Yeah.
And I think in order to have this history and the jailbreak, we have to be super creative. We can't play chess with a bunch of chess players, to make the metaphor of the current system, or Bucky saying, if we're going to make the system obsolete, we need to create new systems that do that. And I think artivism might be the only way potentially to, have that jailbreak, because it's more transcendent, like it's more creative. We can't use our logic and reason to like extricate ourselves from like businesses and environmental destruction and like thinking our way out of a box. Like we're gonna have to get a little bit more creative than that. So I love that art has become this key thing. Even this design science studio I was part of this week, systems designers coming together. So 3 cheers for art. Or as Bretminster Fullofit would say, turn on, tune in, co-create. Yeah. We thank you all for coming along with us on the pilot episode of Bretminster Fullofit and Jean Geni, the buddy movie from Sirius. And I love you, Jeannie, and I'll play us out with a little music. Yeah, have an awesome day. Make sure you keep it recording for our play out here, and then send me a link or upload it or whatever you need to do.
This will be a painting. I'm going to turn this into an encaustic painting. It'll be your first NFT. You can have it.
Yeah, we're gonna rock and roll with Mr. Bowie.
Oh,
it's been good to see you.
You were gonna play the festival. You were gonna play the
right
songs.